You don't deserve that money, Amanda said angrily over the phone. I've been in this family for 8 years, and you just married in. That trust fund should be mine. I sat in my home office, staring at my computer screen. A bank alert had popped up just minutes before her call. Someone had tried to take $5 million from my account, but the bank had stopped it. Amanda hadn't even waited an hour after trying to steal my money before calling to yell at me. My name is Olivia Parker, and I'm 32 years old. My husband's sister was trying to take away what my grandmother left me. The trust fund wasn't just money. It was Grandma Rose's way of making sure I could continue her charity work after she passed away. Amanda, I said, keeping my voice calm, forging my signature is a crime. Did you really think the bank wouldn't check before approving the transfer? She laughed, sharp and bitter. Please, I know all about your security. James told me everything while you were away at that charity event last month. My heart sank. My husband James had access to my accounts. We had always been open with each other, but now Amanda's words made me wonder, had he helped her? I deserve that money more than you, Amanda said, her voice rising. Do you know how hard it is to watch you give away my family's wealth? You're not even a real Parker. I glanced at a photo on my desk, Grandma Rose and me at a children's hospital she had helped build. She had trusted me with her legacy, not because I married her grandson, but because she knew I shared her passion for helping others. The bank will contact you soon, I said firmly. You should be ready to explain the forged signature. Don't threaten me, Amanda snapped. James will never forgive you if you press charges against his only sister. Do you really want to risk your marriage over this? She might be right. James had always defended Amanda, even when she took money from our joint account last year. But this was different. This was Grandma Rose's legacy. I have to go, I said quietly. The bank's fraud department is calling. I hung up, my hands shaking, and opened an email from Mr. Turner, my grandmother's financial advisor. He had already flagged the suspicious activity and activated security measures, knowing Amanda had been asking about the trust fund. My phone buzzed again. James was calling. I ignored it. I needed time to think. Did he help Amanda, or was he just too trusting? Then the bank called. Mrs. Parker. This is Sarah Chen from First National Bank's fraud department. We need to talk about a suspicious transfer attempt on your account. I took a deep breath. Yes, I'd like to press charges for attempted fraud. We've recorded everything, the forged signature, the transfer attempt, even Amanda's phone calls where she claimed to have power of attorney. Should we contact the police? Yes, I said, my voice stronger now. And one more thing. I believe my husband may have given her my account details. Ms. Chen was silent for a moment. Understood. We'll freeze all access to your account, including your husband's, to protect you. As I ended the call, James called again. This time I answered. Olivia, what the hell? He yelled. Amanda's crying, saying you're trying to have her arrested. She just made a mistake. I closed my eyes. He was already taking her side. A mistake? I repeated. She forged my signature to steal $5 million, James. That's not a mistake. She's family, he insisted. We can fix this privately. You don't need to call the police. Family. That word felt like a weapon. I had spent years trying to be part of the Parker family, but moments like this reminded me that I never truly belonged. You're right about one thing, I said. Family is important. That's why I have to protect Grandma Rose's legacy, even if it means protecting it from our own family. I hung up and pulled up the security footage from my home office. I had installed the camera as a precaution, hoping I'd never need it. Now, it would show exactly how James accessed my files while I was away. Sometimes protecting what matters means preparing for betrayal, even from the people closest to you. My phone buzzed again, a text from Amanda. You're making a huge mistake. Hope your precious trust fund is worth losing your husband over. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the message to Mr. Turner as more proof. Amanda thought she was threatening me, but she never understood what the money really meant. It wasn't about being rich. It was about keeping a promise to someone who believed in me. Amanda would make her next move. But this time, I was ready. The next morning was full of chaos. I woke up to find that James hadn't come home. His text explained that he had stayed at Amanda's house, helping her deal with this nightmare. Meanwhile, the family group chat was filled with messages, most of them blaming me. They acted like I was the villain trying to hurt poor Amanda. I ignored them and went straight to First National Bank to meet Mr. Turner. The bank's security footage clearly showed Amanda trying to use a fake power of attorney document. She had even styled her hair like mine to trick the tellers. Mr. Turner slid some photos across his desk. "This is strong evidence," he said, "but there's something else you need to see." He showed me a list of failed transaction attempts from the past 3 months. All of them used my credentials. I looked at the dates and my stomach dropped. These attempts happened when I was away at charity events and hospital visits, times when James was home alone. "We tracked the IP addresses," Mr. Turner continued. "They all come from your home." "James," I whispered. "He had been testing my account security this whole time." "And there's more," Mr. Turner said seriously. "Last week, someone tried to change the trust fund beneficiary to Amanda's name." I felt dizzy. James was the only other person who had access to those documents. He had been helping his sister steal my inheritance. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother-in-law. "Family meeting. Tonight, 7 p.m. Be there or we'll take this as your admission of guilt." Guilt? As if I was the criminal here. "What do you want to do?" Mr. Turner asked gently. I straightened my shoulders, channeling Grandma Rose's strength. "Proceed with the fraud charges. And Mr. Turner, gather all the proof of James's involvement. Every attempt, every access, every betrayal." He nodded. "And the family meeting?" "Oh, I'll be there," I said. "But first, I need copies of everything." The Parker family home always felt cold, but that night, it felt hostile. Conversations stopped as soon as I walked in. Everyone stared. Amanda sat in the middle of the room, eyes red from crying, looking like a helpless victim. James wouldn't even look at me. My mother-in-law, Margaret, spoke first. "I hope you're happy, Olivia. You've torn this family apart over a simple misunderstanding." I placed a folder on the coffee table. "A misunderstanding? Is that what we're calling attempted theft now?" Amanda sniffled. "I was just trying to access what should have been family money. Grandma Rose would have wanted." "Don't," I interrupted sharply. "Don't pretend to know what Grandma Rose wanted. She chose me for a reason." Amanda's face twisted in anger. "Only because you manipulated her. You turned her against her own family." I pulled out the security photos and spread them on the table. "Is that why you dressed like me and tried to trick the bank?" The room went silent. Everyone leaned forward to look. Amanda's face turned pale. "And these," I said, placing more documents down, "show months of failed logins from my home. Times when I was away. Times when only James had access to my office." James finally looked at me. His face was filled with guilt, but also defiance. "I was just trying to help my sister. You wouldn't understand. You're not really family." The words stung, but I kept my face blank. I pulled out my last piece of evidence, Grandma Rose's final letter to me. I read aloud, "My dearest Olivia, I'm entrusting you with more than money. I'm entrusting you with my legacy. The Parkers have always had wealth, but you have something rare: compassion. James may be my grandson by blood, but you are my heir in spirit. Never let anyone make you doubt that." Margaret tried to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "The police have been notified. The fraud investigation is moving forward. And James?" I looked straight at him. "Your role in this is fully documented. Every attempt to access my accounts, every breach of trust." "You can't be serious," Amanda gasped. "You would send your own husband to jail." "No," I said. "I'm giving him a choice. Sign the divorce papers I prepared today or face charges for fraud." "It's up to you, James." The room erupted. Amanda was crying, Margaret was threatening legal action, and James was stumbling over excuses. But I stood firm, holding Grandma Rose's letter like a shield. As I walked out of the house that had never truly been my home, James called after me. "Olivia, wait. We can talk about this." I turned back once. "You know what's funny? If you had just asked, I would have helped Amanda. That's what the trust was for, helping people. But instead, you both chose to lie and steal." I got in my car, leaving the Parker family to deal with their choices. Sometimes protecting a legacy means standing alone. Grandma Rose would have understood that too. A new beginning. The consequences of that night came quickly. Within days, Amanda was arrested for fraud. The evidence against her was overwhelming: security footage, fake documents, and multiple failed attempts to steal from the trust fund. James, realizing he couldn't escape blame, signed the divorce papers. His last message to me was bitter. I hope the money keeps you warm at night since you chose it over family. But he never understood. It was never about the money. 3 months later, I sat in Mr. Turner's office reviewing updates on the trust fund. The children's hospital was expanding, and a new scholarship program was in progress. Amanda took a plea deal, Mr. Turner said. 2 years probation and she has to pay back what she tried to steal. James has been removed from all accounts and the divorce is almost finalized. I nodded, feeling a mix of sadness and relief, and the trust security. Stronger than ever. No one can access it without multiple layers of verification now. Your grandmother would be proud of you, Olivia. Hearing Grandma Rose's name made me smile. I thought back to our last conversation before she passed. She once told me, money doesn't change people, it just reveals who they really are. The Parker family tried to ruin my reputation. They spread lies, claiming I manipulated Grandma Rose and betrayed them out of greed. But the truth spoke for itself. And more importantly, the trust fund continued to help those who truly needed it. Last week, I received a letter from a little girl who had life-saving surgery at the hospital wing funded by the trust. Her crayon drawing now hung in my office, next to a photo of Grandma Rose and me at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. My phone buzzed. A message from Amanda's lawyer. She wanted to meet, claiming she wanted to apologize. I declined. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. Margaret still sent me messages, filled with guilt trips and veiled threats. Her latest read. The family name meant nothing to you. You destroyed everything we built. But she was wrong. I hadn't destroyed anything, I had protected it. The trust fund was still doing what Grandma Rose intended, helping people, changing lives. One evening, I walked through the hospital wing that bore Grandma Rose's name. I stopped by her portrait, her warm, knowing smile watching over me. You were right, Grandma, I whispered. About everything. A nurse approached, leading a little girl by the hand. Mrs. Parker. This is Emma. She just finished her last round of treatment, and she wanted to thank the person who made it possible. I knelt down to Emma's level. She smiled shyly and handed me a glitter-covered card. Thank you, she said softly. As I watched her skip away, I opened the card. Inside, in wobbly handwriting, were the words, "You're my hero." I looked up at Grandma Rose's portrait again, her eyes filled with the quiet wisdom I had always admired. Money is just a tool, Olivia, she had once told me. What matters is how you use it. Amanda and James only saw dollar signs, but Grandma Rose had seen potential. She had trusted me to see it too. Standing in that hospital, surrounded by the lives she had touched, I knew I had made the right choice. I hadn't lost a family, I had honored one. And somewhere, I knew Grandma Rose was still smiling, proud that her legacy had fallen into the right hands.